Planting food plots is the most popular habitat management practice for whitetail deer. Landowners all over the distribution of whitetail deer plant food plots. There's lots of considerations when planting food plots. Two of the main things you should consider first, whether you have never planted a food plot or even if you've planted lots of food plots and managed them for many years on a particular property, is one, exactly why are you planting a food plot? And number two, the location. When you're getting started, those are, in my opinion, probably the two most important things to consider. Are you planting food plots specifically to increase the amount of nutrition for deer? Or I like to plant food plots because it facilitates my hunting. It helps me in knowing when and where deer might show up on the property, or you might just want to plant food plots for increased viewing. So you're probably in both of those camps. If so, with regard to increasing nutrition, think about when deer are growing. You're really thinking about April through July with regard to antler production. And then with regard to lactation for does, according to your location, you're looking at May, June, July, and portions of the Deep South, of course, later than that into August and September. But think about the biological needs of the deer when they're needing increased nutrition and when they are actively growing. When you think about what is needed during that time for increased growth, you're thinking about things such as crude protein, calcium, phosphorus, minerals that are important in terms of growth and development, both of the body and of the antlers themselves. And so having high quality food plots to supplement what you also hopefully are doing on your property with regard to habitat management, providing the most high quality vegetation that you can, that the deer actively seek out, select, and prefer over other species when they are present. Think about how large is the core home range of deer during the summertime, spring and summer, when this growth is taking place. GPS studies over multiple areas across the U.S. have shown us that that core home range, where deer are spending the core 50% of their time, is only about 35 to 50 acres. So think about having a high quality food source, which may be cool season forages or warm season forages that are very high in nutrition and distributed across the property and in such an amount that those foods are never limiting during that time. And so what you might plant specifically to hunt near may be completely different from what you would plant to increase the amount of nutrition optimally for deer during spring and summertime. Oftentimes the size of those fields, for example, you might be planting soybeans or cowpeas or American joint vetch, or you might have perennial forages such as ladino clover, chicory, alfalfa, particularly if you're in the more northern latitudes where those cool season forages actually are serving as a primary warm season forage base. A lot of times those fields need to be a little larger to ensure enough foraging for deer that are coming into those areas during that time than a hunting plot per se, which may be relatively small. And think about the distribution. Do you want those areas only on one side or one corner of the property or distributed throughout? So with regard to the specific location of these plots, that's when it's important to look at the property from an aerial view, and you're seeing the entire property. You can overlay a soils map to see where your better quality soils are and where the terrain, topography, etc. will allow some of these larger plots if that's needed in certain areas of the property. And that's when soil quality can be very important, especially for these larger plots that you're trying to get maximum tonnage out of, because if you plant on the better quality soils, then you don't have to add as much lime and fertilizers to get maximum plant yield. Don't expect to change the nutritional quality of the plants just because you've amended the soils, but in planting your food plots on soils of higher quality, that means the amendments that will be necessary are less and thus more efficient and save you some time and money. With regard to location of hunting plots, think about, number one, your access, and also where are deer bedding. And this is something that we pay a lot of attention to, particularly where are the deer bedding. And so we pay as much attention to creating good deer bedding areas as we do our food plots. In my opinion, I think it's more important to know where the deer are holding on your property on a daily basis as opposed to where they are going. And so then that enables you to set up closer to where they're coming from. And then when you combine that with your access and you consider wind direction, then you can begin to stick in smaller hunting plots. They might be round or blocky, or they might be strips, especially in some heavy cover, that enable you to set up a mouse trap per se with the correct wind condition and your access being such that you're never disturbing the deer coming into or leaving the stand, and that will increase your success dramatically. So whether you've never planted a food plot and just getting into it, or whether you've planted food plots for a long time, think carefully about exactly what you're hoping to get out of your food plots, why are you planting them, and the location, and that's going to help you be more successful.